Well, in the previous session, we learned how to purchase our domain hosting. After purchasing our domain hosting, we need to install WordPress. Installing WordPress involves several steps. The first step is downloading it from the WordPress website. The next step is uploading it to our website or our hosting. The following step is its installation and logging in. Let's proceed to the first step of installing WordPress on cPanel together. The domain we purchased is htmplus.ir. When I specify that my hosting is cPanel, I always need to add a / and cPanel after the hosting address. This way, I enter the login environment for cPanel. In this section, I can log in with the username and password provided to me. I'm going to log in to access my hosting. When I open the cPanel hosting environment, it offers me many menus and tools. However, right now, we are only concerned with one or two of them, and we will learn later what each one is used for. In the first step, we encounter a window called File, which is essentially our hosting's file manager. It is the space that allows us to use and manage our hosting. In the File section, we focus on the File Manager. When I open the File Manager, it brings me to the root, which is the root file manager that shows me different folders. The main folder I work with on the website is the public XAMPP folder. Its icon is different, a red background icon. Here I reach my host, which is where I can upload my files, and the site is connected to it. If I enter my domain now, it will display all the files I have here. So where do we start? We go into our host, log in, access the file manager, go into the public HTML folder, and here we can do whatever we need. Guys, for installing WordPress, make sure to download it directly from the official WordPress site and not from Persian or Iranian sites. I hope when you search download WordPress on Google, the first site that comes up is the WordPress site. Always download the latest version to ensure there are no security issues with the WordPress you downloaded. Okay, when WordPress is downloaded, I have several folders in my file manager. And up here, I have several tools. The tool we need to work with now is the folder tool. There's a plus sign up here, and I can create a new folder here. I can name it anything I want, but let me explain something before we proceed. When I open my site, it reads my first file, meaning it reads my index.php file by default. However, since we don't have an index.php here, when we open the domain, it lists all my folders and tells me that I can go to any of them. So if I have a domain where I want the entire site to appear directly on the domain, I don't need to create a folder. For example, if I open the HT marketing site now, it doesn't show me any folder structure, and the site itself loads for me. So if I need my main domain to have the site installed on it, I upload my files directly to the public HTML root. But now we want to create a folder. I want to create a folder named WP Plus, and here I can click to create it. I have already created this folder and uploaded our WordPress files. Now, how do you upload? Wherever I go in my file manager, there is a section at the top called Upload. When I click on it, and it opens, it gives me an option that says, "Sir, either drag and drop your file here or you can select it." So I can drag the file I downloaded here and start uploading it, okay? Now, my file is uploaded, but it's in a zip format, so I need to extract it. We do the same thing on Windows, Mac, and other operating systems. To extract it as well, if absolutely necessary, up here, I have the option to click on my file, then click Extract here, or I can right-click and select Extract. It asks me where to extract it, or I can leave it where it is to extract WordPress. Guys, our first step was downloading WordPress, and our second step is uploading WordPress. We are currently uploading WordPress. It takes a little time for this file to be extracted for me. Guys, my file has been extracted. Once it's extracted, it sends me a message saying, "Sir, these folders have been extracted for you." I reload this and my WordPress file has appeared here. Guys, this is a very important point. because when you download WordPress, it's in a folder, and that folder is zipped. I need to go into the WordPress folder. I select all these files that I have, meaning I grab all of them and I move them here. I also have tools, the same tools we have on Windows. We have cut, we have copy, and I can use the tools above, or I can right click and select move. I want to move it back to the WP Plus folder, so I select it and click on move file. Guys, whenever you do these tasks, make sure to delete the folders you don't need so you don't run into problems later. Well, let me say something about deleting. Anything I want to delete in my file manager, I can select with Control or Command on Mac. No matter how many files, I can right-click to delete them or use the delete option from the toolbar above. This is asking me, guys, the clone file manager, cPanel, or the code circle also gives me a dirty section. This is Windows or Mac itself, I say, sir. I can take this to you in the dirty section of my trash can, or I can delete it. Those files that you guys don't know if you will need later, don't click on this ticker. Let them go to my trash can, where they will stay for 30 days in case they are not clean. Don't need it, delete it completely. We don't need these files right now. Guys, when I open the domain, I go into my folder. It's down here for me. When I open it, the WordPress installation page appears for me. So if I've done my work and I see this page, it means my work has been correct up to this point. I might choose either English, or if my site is in Persian, it automatically has Persian. I select Persian. I click continue. It gives me a message saying that now I need to provide the database name and other details. Let me give you an explanation about the database. The database is the storage space for the information we have. Don't confuse this with the host. The host is the space where we place our files. The database is the space where the information we want to store, whether now or later, is stored. To be able to create a database, it requires some data from us, like the database name, username, and password. We go to the settings section of our cPanel, and as we scroll down, we reach a section called database. You see this is the same placement for MySQL databases. When we click on it, this page appears for me. To create the database itself, I first need to create the database and then create the database user, because every database in cPanel is assigned to a user. I want to create my database here now. I will name it WP Plus. Guys, it doesn't matter what name you choose, but pick names that are related to your project so that if you have many files or databases later, you won't get confused. So my first step is to create the database itself. Guys, it only asks me for the database name. I have now created my database and it gave me the message that the database has been created. I go back to the previous page. When I created my database, it should appear for me in this list. Now, because there are many here, I will increase it so that we can all see it. Now here you can see my database is created, but it says there is no user. How can we create a user? We scroll down to add new user. It says, sir, excuse me. I usually always name my database and my user the same, so that managing it is easier for me. But there is no obligation to do so. Okay, I will name it, or sir, set the password for me. Guys, the password is important. Don't just set it as 1 to 9. Definitely use the password generator in cPanel itself. Now it can set any type of password for me. It has features to increase the number of characters or add uppercase and lowercase letters, but we don't need that. We just copy what it generates. And we check this box to copy it to the other sections of WordPress, meaning where the password is supposed to be set. We use the password and it says, sir, the password score is out of 187. Guys, always keep it above 70, 80 so that your user account is not easily exposed or hacked. Here, I am also creating my user. Guys, I copied the password and At the same moment, I paste it into this password section. Okay, let's go back to this page. Guys, we have a section where we create the database and another section where we create the user, but these are not connected. So the first step is creating the database. The second step is creating the user. And the third step is connecting the user to the database. Here we scroll down to the database list. Here I select it and say connect HDM plus WP plus to HDM plus WP plus. One is the user and the other is the database. I click add. Guys, when I click add, the database itself has a series of features that WordPress can connect to. We don't need to worry about what I'm doing with it right now. At this stage, we just check all to say give all these features to my database. And I click make change. So guys, I have a user and a database. I copy these and go to my installation section. It asks for the database name. Guys, the database name is the name of my database, so I paste that. My username is also the same, and I paste it. It might be different for you, but your database, meaning the table you create and the database you create, becomes the database name. The username becomes that user because I set both of them the same for us. I also copied the password and pasted it here. Always set the database host to localhost, guys. Sometimes it might not work, and we have to set it to an IP, but it usually works with this. If you encounter an issue somewhere, you can write 127.0.1, or we set this IP, or we set it to localhost. 99% of the time, it works with localhost, guys. Table prefix. Those tables that WordPress sends, it says for security, I add a prefix to it, which is usually WP as a prefix. Change this so that they can't easily identify your database. For example, here I set it to something like WP Plus, which is an abbreviation of the site I have, and I hit the send part. If my database information is okay here, it tells me, right, the database is correct, let's move on to the next step. Install WordPress. I click on Start Installation. Up to this point, my database has been imported, meaning it has been loaded onto the database. Now I want some information like your site's title. This title appears at the top, for example. Here you see Ad Agency Digital Marketing is visible. That's my title. Website, WordPress Plus course. This can be changed later. Sir, enter the username. Guys, the username is the one that allows me to access the admin area. So guys, the first tip is never to set admin as your username. Even if you don't install any security plugins, don't use admin because it can be easily hacked. Even though I say WordPress can be hacked, if we follow certain guidelines like these small tips, plugins, and configurations, our site will never be hacked. Here, sir, I will write my username as WP+. Usually don't use your site's name or domain either. Here I will write my own name. Sir, it asks me to enter the password. Here, guys, you can see it has generated a password itself, which is a combination of letters and numbers. Use these. Again, don't use simple ones because they can be hacked. So I will copy this to have it. You can use and save these usernames and passwords somewhere, so you can return to them later. The next part asks for the email. I say okay and enter my email. Masha, check the last option for search engines. When I bring up the site, and then when search engines like Google, Bing, and others come looking for my site to find it, but my site is just a test site. I don't want it to be indexed on Google. And until your site is complete, do not remove this check. Later, I'll tell you where you can reactivate this check. I check this box and proceed to the final installation. Guys, after it's installed, it gives me this message that says, "Sir, your WordPress is installed and your username is..." Now it doesn't show it here, but I copied it. I click on Login here. Guys, this is the WordPress login environment. If I want to come back to it later, meaning if I want to log in again, I enter my domain name, which I placed in a folder this time. /WP from the ground. This becomes my login address to the WordPress admin environment. Okay, guys, I select the username that I had written down before. And I had copied my password, so I paste it here. I log into the WordPress environment. In the next part, we will learn how to bring our direct admin and WordPress onto our host. Stay with us. Guys, in previous sessions, we learned how to install WordPress on a cPanel and direct admin. In this session, we are going to learn how to install WordPress on a local host. What is a local host anyway? Sometimes I don't want to get a host, I just want to test it for myself, and that's why I don't go and buy hosting domains. I can use the virtual server that I bring up on my own computer, which we technically call a local host. Guys, if you are using Windows, you can use the WAMP software, which you can download right now from the Scythe98 website. You can also use the XAMPP software. Both XAMPP and WAMP are available for Windows, and you can use them. But if you are on a Mac, you must use XAMPP, as WAMP is not available. However, it's easy to download and install it. Once we have installed it, guys, it gives me an environment like this, meaning it provides me with a server manager that runs Apache or the web server, runs FTP, and also has MySQL or a database. Guys, we need the database. That is, the database we use in WordPress or PHP is called MySQL, and its interface is phpMyAdmin. Now, when these open for me, an address is activated for me called localhost. In the first step, it says, for example, I have brought Apache up for you, brought MariaDB up, which is the same as MySQL, brought PHP up, brought Perl up. When I install this, it gives me a space, which is the same as the file manager space of the host. I come into this space, it has a folder. On the host, it's called public HTML, and on our local, it's called htdocs, which is exactly the same here. In the file manager, whether it's cPanel or direct admin, I can create a folder. Right now, I'm creating a folder here named. Now it's asking me for a password, because if it were Windows, it wouldn't ask for a password. When I name it WP Plus, now, if I write WP Plus after my local host address, it will connect to this folder that I created here. Okay, here's the folder I created. Now I need to put the WordPress that I downloaded here. I come here and copy paste it. Alright guys, I extract it again. This is the same thing we did on the cPanel and direct admin file manager. Now, I move the files inside it back again. I delete the files I don't need, like this WordPress zip and the WordPress folder. Okay, now if I refresh here, the WordPress installation page will come up for me again. Okay, for the kids to connect to the database, now WAMP or XAMPP also needs me to write localhost /phpMyAdmin. Unlike cPanel or direct admin, it doesn't have an interface where I can log in, enter, and create, and its database creation is different. Guys, when I start here, I always use localhost. The user is always set to default, my password is blank. But I need to create a database. To create a database, I open the PHP script, go to the database section, and here I type the name I need, type WP Plus, okay? The OP had a plus, okay. So if I use localhost, my username is root, and I leave the password empty. I write the name of my database here, and again I set the address to localhost, meaning I set the database host to localhost. I can change this prefix. Alright, I submit and move to the next step. It's telling me that because I'm on a Mac, this is happening now. It says I don't have the right permissions to create this config, so you have to do it manually. But if you're on Windows, you won't have any issues, it will do it for you. However, if you're on a Mac, you need to copy this file that it gives you here and Go to the WP config folder, which means the WP config sample file. Delete from your file. You see, I need to delete this and the file that it gave me. I paste it in here, and the file it gave me, I paste it here. I press Ctrl-A, delete this, paste my file, and save it. Then I go back to the installation. This step told me that the information you provided for the database is okay. What do I name my file? Website of the WordPress Plus course. I enter my username and password again, using the password it generated for me. I also enter the email I have. Now here, whether I check or uncheck this search engine visibility option, it doesn't matter because I'm local and Google doesn't have access to it. I proceed to install WordPress, and now my WordPress is installed here.